So we spoke in the previous class about the importance of doing away with the intruders. Do you remember that? And the intruders are not human. They are spiritual forces that... They're spiritual forces that can inhabit humans and cause certain damages. So with that in mind, we will begin today's class at the Yehiel Foundation. Today is June 3rd, Sunday, June 3rd, 2012. We're continuing with our discussion of the Zohar on the book of Genesis of Bereshit. So it tells us that the day that the intruders have been eradicated, the name of God will be one, and His name will be one. And that the people of Israel will find unity, because right now they are not united, because they are mixed up with the intruders. And what will unite the people of Israel is the Kabbalah, according to Zohar Ha Kadosh, the sacred doctrine. It tells us that the Kabbalah is a tree of life for those who embrace it. And happy is he who adheres tightly to the Kabbalah. We see that the tree of knowledge of good and evil is the desire to have a body without knowing how to control it. And we see that the tree of life is nothing other than the Kabbalah. In the Garden of Eden, God told us we could eat from the tree of life, but not the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It tells us that the earth is disrupted by three things. The first one is when a slave reigns. Or said in other words, when the servant supplants the place of their master. What is the Zohar Ha Kadosh telling us here? Who is the slave? Who is the servant? They are the forces of egoism, bodily forces, the forces of the lowest passions. And who is the master? The spiritual forces, in other words, the soul. So, when bodily forces dominate those of the soul, the earth is disturbed. That is where we see that the earth is an intelligent being. And just as man must ascend to a higher level of spirituality, the earth also longs to do so. And what does that depend on? That man ascend. The second reason that earth is disturbed is when a senseless man is full of bread. What is bread? Bread is the literal word of the Torah, the Bible. That is, that they who only remember the literal stories without taking away the lessons from those literal stories. The third reason is when a woman is worthy of hate because she has been disowned by a man. What does a woman worthy of hate, disowned by a man, mean? The woman is a representation of the body, and man, a representation of the soul. That is, when the body is locked in a fight to the death with the soul. So you see that the metaphorical expression and meaning are not one and the same. And it tells us, unhappy are those who are ignorant and blind, because they do not explore the secrets of the Kabbalah. and they don't know that figures like beasts in the field and birds in the sky mean the illiterate, the uneducated, and the ignorant. That is, they who are not familiar with the vocabulary of the Zohar metaphors. When Zohar Ha Kadosh speaks of beasts of the field or birds in the sky, they are referring to the ignorant. We must know its vocabulary to enter the deep secrets of the Torah. They are the ones who cause the Shekhinah to be in captivity. Here, the Zohar tells us something I was not aware of, that the tradition tells us that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, did not die, and that Moshe Rabbeinu is called man in the language of the Zohar, called man, Adam. When it says the work of man among the Israelites, it is referring to the work of Moshe Rabbeinu, because Moshe Rabbeinu has the title of man. And why did they give him the title of man? It is a great title. Because he was the only one to fight the demons, that is, to fight negative spiritual forces without help from anyone else. And now we will see how, when in Genesis, when they refer to Adam, to man, they are actually referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. And when they refer to Adam's rib, it is referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. And when they speak of Hava, it is speaking of aspects of Moshe Rabbeinu. And it is all talking about Moshe Rabbeinu. It is very interesting, so we'll continue to study this. It tells us that Yud Ke Vav Ke Elokim, which are names of God, caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep. Who is the man? Moshe Rabbeinu. And he took from him a rib and put flesh in the place of the rib. How can we unravel this deep enigma? Because here there reside some of the greatest secrets of creation. What is Adam's rib? The word in Hebrew is sela, and sela does not mean rib, it means side. He took out one side of Adam, or Moshe. He took part of Moshe. And from the place that he took the rib, he put in its place flesh in that place. This is difficult to understand. The Hebrew word for flesh is basagam. It has a numerology of 345, just like the name of Moshe. So we are speaking of the flesh of Moshe. It tells us that the flesh is the union of heavenly beings with a human being. And that is why in the Talmud it is written that Adam was made up of something that the other human beings are not made up of. Moshe Rabbeinu was made up of 50% heavenly being, an angel, and 50% human being. Why is this? Because they took one side from him and in its place placed the DNA of superior beings. What that means is that Moshe Rabbeinu was a hybrid, half angel, half man. When they say that Yud Ke Vav Ke Elokim made Adam, or rather Moshe Rabbeinu, fall asleep, Yud Ke Vav Ke represents the father and Elokim the mother, that is the Yud and the Che, Chokmah and Binah. These are levels of subconsciousness and consciousness. What is sleep? It is a state of captivity. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was inside a body. That is what being asleep means. And the rib taken from Adam, that is Moshe Rabbeinu, it tells us, is the letter Vav. And what is the letter Vav? Connection? What is the letter Vav? Is it Zeraim Pin? Yes. And they are the genitals. So, the letter Vav is the male sexual organ. That's what the Kabbalah says. In other words, there was a genetic symbiosis from beings from above and another from below. That was for Moshe Rabbeinu. And since the Vav is also Zerampin, it means that heavenly forces intervened. So, don't believe that Moshe Rabbeinu was a man like you or me. He was a being who... There was never a prophet like him, nor will there ever be, until the Mashiach comes. He was an absolutely extraordinary being. And that is why in the 13 Articles of Faith by Maimonides, it emphasizes that Moshe Rabbeinu was the prophet who brought the Torah to the world, and there will never be another prophet like him because his essence was half angelic, half human. And from him he made woman. From the rib he made woman. Who is the woman? His physical aspect. And who is the flesh that he placed in the place of the rib? His angelical aspect. It tells us they were both naked, and neither was ashamed. That is how it is written in Genesis. So what does it mean that they were naked? Naked of what? When Adam acquired a physical body before his time, he was naked of what? He was naked of knowledge of the Kabbalah, which means that as soon as he had a body, a veil was formed that kept him from knowing the deep secrets from the world above. That is his nakedness. And anyone who does not study Kabbalah is called one who is naked. That is very interesting. And now is the moment for a very important concept. It says, when the intruders disappear, harmony will return, because they are the cause of lust and the cause of any inclination toward incontinence. And I am going to change the word incontinence for lack of resistance. You will realize that the Jewish people is a people with laws of great resistance. Against what do we have resistance? In our dietary laws, the laws of Nidah, when you can approach women, when you can't, when they have their menstruation within 7 days of it ending, when you have to contain your labia, when you have to fast, when you have to observe Shabbat, when you can't drive or take an elevator. So he who controls continents is a Jew. He who does not is an intruder. That is how the Zohar defines it. And who has brought incontinence to this world? The intruders. It's as if they sold cars without a brake pedal. They generate chaos. And why does it say that they were not ashamed? Because shame is an attribute of the soul. And the intruders do not have a soul. They do not have a superior soul. They only have the nefesh. What does this mean? That they are incontinent. They do not practice resistance. And they do not know shame. And that is why, in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16, verse 7, it tells us that you are naked and full of confusion. And there we learn that nakedness means being deprived of the Kabbalah. And when you do not have the Kabbalah, it leads you to a state of confusion. In other words, you lose your way in the world when you don't know the secrets of the Torah. And Zohar Ha Kadosh next tells us that when the first tablets of the law were destroyed, Israel realized it was naked. What does this mean? That they realized that they had lost the Kabbalah. It is the absence of Zod, of the secrets of the Torah. So it says that the ignorant in our time are the souls of the intruders. Those who do not want to study Kabbalah are the intruders, according to Zohar Ha Kadosh. And it says that Yud Kevavke Elokim dressed them in skins, in or, with ayin. And here it says something amazing, which I did not know either. It tells us that when Adam and Hava realized they were naked, they made belts. Have you ever seen the Lubavitch, how they wear belts? At the height of their diaphragms, and belts are called agorot. Why do they wear belts? To separate the organs that have to do with animal instincts from those that have to do with spiritual perception. The lungs, the heart, and the entire vocal system, and the digestive system from the stomach upward. And the entire mind is spiritual, but from the liver down, it's all instinct. So, as they realized they were naked, that they did not have the Kabbalah, they themselves wanted to distinguish between good and evil, between animal instincts and spiritual elevation. And now we know why they wear that belt. But do they know this as well? Yes. Yes, perfectly. Many people know this. It's a way to separate what's below from what's above. And here it tells us again about how there are two types of harmful spirits, the mazikim and the shadim. Curiously, I was just talking about them this Shabbat. So, the mazik are harmful spirits that attack man in his body and in his money. You must know that. And the shadim are even worse. They are diabolical spirits that attack men in their midot. And what are their midot? In their good qualities. In other words, they enrage them. They make them envious. They make them jealous. So the person is not an angry, envious, or jealous person. It's a demon that makes you be jealous or envious. And you have to kiss the mezuzah. Why? Because the mezuzah is the antidote against the shadim. When you have an attack of jealousy or envy, go kiss the mezuzah, and it will go away. Well, I did that, and it didn't go away. The thing is, for something to work, you have to have consciousness that it works that way. First, you must know that there is a relationship between the mezuzah and anger and jealousy and all the paranoia we may feel. Once you know there is a relationship there, you must know what the medicine is. And when you know what the medicine is and you use it, the medicine works because you know it works. It will not work until you know it works. And it tells us that in the time of the Mashiach, God will make the
Mazikim
and the Shadim disappear from this world. And all those who are guilty of that ignorance will go through severe punishment, very severe. And the worst punishment for a soul is to turn it into a mazik or a shed, to make the soul into an evil spirit that will live in a world of evil spirits. Because when the Mashiach comes, we will no longer live in a world with evil spirits. There will be a world for evil spirits and a world for spiritual people. It tells us that there are diabolical spirits, male and female, who are mixed in among the people of Israel, and you don't know who is who. Are they the intruders? Yes, they're the intruders. Of all the evil spirits, the worst is Amalek, because Amalek is a murderer, and his wife, the wife of Amalek, she's very bad, like a deadly venom, because she takes you to idolatry. So when we study the Zohar, we realize that this world is not only inhabited by human beings, but also by spiritual beings, some of which are of a very high level, and some of which are very harmful. And it tells us that in the future, in which we already are, Akadosh Baruch Hu, hallowed and blessed be his name, our Creator, will make those spirits disappear from the face of the earth, and will be able to dry the tears from the eyes of those who suffer from having to live alongside those evil spirits. Then the Zohar tells us of eternal life, and tells us that only the Mashiach can bring eternal life to this world, because the Mashiach is the Lord and Master of everything that is going to happen in this world. And here is something that is the motto of our website. There is no effect without cause. Everything that happens on earth is nothing but an effect. The cause is in heaven. So we have to work more on things in heaven and less on those of earth, because the causal world is in heaven. And here it tells us that this physical world here down below has been created by astral forces in such a way that the body is feminine, that is, it receives masculine inputs from the astral forces. The astral forces are masculine, and the body receiving that karma, is feminine. The earth is a woman, feminine. It also receives forces from outside. And what is masculine is God, who is symbolized by the letter Aleph. The letter Bet is symbolized by the feminine aspect, and the letter Aleph symbolizes the masculine aspect. And now we will see how in the first sentence of the Torah, Bereshit bara Elohim et. Observe how the first two words of the Torah, Bereshit, what letter does it begin with? Bet. Bara, with a letter Bet. And then Elohim et. Elohim begins with Aleph and et begins with Aleph. Bereshit bara Elohim et means in the beginning God created heaven and earth. Well, we are beginning with two feminine aspects followed by two masculine aspects. What does that mean? That any act of creation must begin with the feminine aspect taking the first step. And then, as regards our behavior, how can that be translated? That until you've taken a step here on earth, heaven is not going to respond. Until a woman winks at you, you won't approach her. The feminine aspect must take the first step for the masculine aspect to respond. God is not coming to look for you. God is waiting for you to look for Him to respond to you. Well, let's take a break here, and then we'll begin the meditation. Any questions on this topic? Because there are many concepts we've explained here. There's quite a bit of material. I'm listening. Why are there two bets and two alephs? Why double? Why not just one bet and then one aleph? If it's feminine and masculine, why two feminine followed by two masculine letters? That's because the feminine aspect has to insist. When you pray, you won't have enough with just one prayer. You have to insist. Don't think you'll get the answer just by petitioning once. You have to nag. And then they'll give you an answer in accordance with your insistence. But first you have to insist. When you knock on someone's door, do you knock once or twice? Or three? You knock twice. The postman always rings twice. The aspect of wanting to receive must manifest itself with strength. There's one thing I don't understand. In all the shiurim up to now, we understood that Adam meant Adam and Hava, Hava. There was a whole episode in Cosmic Laws. It explains who Adam was, the specifics of Adam and Hava. How is it that now, when we speak of Adam in the Zohar, we're actually talking about Moshe Rabbeinu and not Adam? What is Adam's role in the Zohar? We have already said that the Torah is made up of stories. We have already said that those stories have to take you to a more advanced understanding. So, we're not reading a science fiction story. We're understanding, we want to understand, what is behind this story. There is a lesson. So, if we get into the literal story of Adam and Hava, we will take some lessons away. But when we go further, we realize that not everyone has the merit to call themselves man. And, as the Zohar Ha Kadosh has said, some are called beasts of the field. You wrote that down. The intruders are called beasts of the fields. The ignorant, they do not have the merit to be called man. And we say, who has the merit to be called man? Moshe Rabbeinu. So when does a being have the merit to be called man. What are we? Are we beasts of the field or men? Would you like to know? If you study Kabbalah and are close to Kabbalah, then no, because they would have to take a rib from us and put flesh in its place. What did that mean? That we have to be half man, half heavenly being. Is that possible? That we be half men, half heavenly beings to deserve the title of Adam? Initially, we are always that way because we are made of divine essence and the body is made of the matter of stars. And as long as we're not intruders. Did Adam exist? Yes, the story existed. But we're not interested in the story. We're interested in what story we can take away from it. But instead of Adam, it was Moshe Rabbeinu. No, Adam existed. Adam was a very high being. But the one who deserved the title of Adam was Moshe Rabbeinu in the history of mankind. Not all men deserve to be called Adam. So I answer you this way. When we meditate on names of God, what happens? Our soul joins that energy. Why? Because we take a rib from ourselves, which is our higher self. We take energy from the Hebrew letters and put them in the brain, heart, and liver. So we put flesh inside ourselves according to the Zohar metaphor, and we become half human, half heavenly beings. So in the work of performing Yehudim, we become Adam, or we become Moshe Rabbeinu. In other words, the process of there was a dream. What is the dream? We close our eyes, we do some meditation. We were in a state of slavery, and we want to escape from slavery because the body is too narrow. And then we take out a side of ourselves. In other words, we see ourselves inside a Star of David. And there we are no longer a purely animal human being. And that part of the higher self that is meditating connects with the energy of the Hebrew letters and merges together. So a rib is taken from us, and in its place, a mix of heavenly flesh is put. We are making a hybrid, a human heavenly genetic hybrid with ourselves when we meditate on the name of God. At that time, when we are meditating, that is when we deserve the name of man, because that is what God made, a man. How do we know this? Because the name Adam is made up of two words. The word dam, which is blood. Yes, we are beings of flesh and blood. But we also have the letter Aleph, which is masculine. The masculine letter is the one that gives us energy. We have said that man is feminine. The feminine part of man is dam, his blood. But what do we bring in? The Aleph. The Aleph is a giver. Where does the Aleph come from? From meditation on the name of God. What is the name of God? A giving energy arises and enters our blood. So then we are Adam. We mix Aleph with the dam. We mix the divine unit with the flesh and blood part, the blood, and we form Adam. It does not remain in just dam. If there was no Aleph, would we be dead? No, we would be purely animal, spiritually dead. But you also have to have the emet. Yes, emet as well. If you take away the Aleph, you get met, dead. Just like the Golah. Being in exile is called Golah. But when you bring the unit of God and the divine letters, you add an Aleph, and Golah becomes Gayolah, that is liberation, freedom, redemption. When is there redemption? When you add Aleph, which is masculine. And the only thing that is masculine are the names of God, which radiate energy that enters man, which is feminine. When the masculine enters the feminine, the prophecy arises. And then we are like Moshe Rabbeinu. We are not like Moshe Rabbeinu, because it's a process by which we want to bring the Aleph to our world. If not, all we have is Dam, a being of just blood, purely animal. Do you understand that? It's very metaphorical, but it has a lot to do with the importance of meditation on Hebrew letters. There's another term that they use in the Torah for man, which is Ish. Ish, lucky man, for example. Ish Sadiq, if I remember correctly. Does that have any connotations here, or not at all? How do you write man? Yud Shin. Yud Shin is Yesh, there is. And what is Yesh? It is the Sefirah Chokmah. We have said that Yesh is Yesh Ma'im. There is something from nothing. In other words, when is there something from nothing? When you meditate. When you bring something to this world, you bring it from another world. There is nothing in this world, and you bring it from another world. That is called Yesh, but you can read it Ish. Well then, we're going to do 2 Shemot. The first is to eliminate chaos. Not chaos, but eliminate the mazikim and the shadim, that is, the intruders. And the second name is the one that brings order to our lives. Who transforms chaos into harmony? But that is only possible when we do away with the intruders. So the first name we will meditate on is Resh Chet Shin. Resh Chet Shin is the name that eliminates the intruders, who are responsible for the mazikim, harmful angels that attack health, the body, and our economy. And the shadim, those that attack our virtues and cause us to have flaws. This Resh Chet Shin eliminates that kind of chaos. And once we have eliminated the intruders, then He Aleph Aleph brings order. The name He Aleph Aleph brings order to each of our lives. Because those that keep us from having order are the mazikim and the shadim. Once we get rid of them, we can bring order. Does that make sense? Well, then let's begin to meditate. I have a question. Does it illuminate from our lives, or you will follow that in the meditation as I am going to guide it? First, it has to be introduced inside us to be able to radiate it out to the world. We will go back to the theme of the golden thread that stitches together the hearts of all those present. We take 3 deep breaths. Again. Again. Now we see a thread of golden light that is like a sunbeam that intercepts all our hearts and begins to spin at high speed in a counterclockwise direction to form a unity of hearts and electromagnetic energy. You already know that the energy of the heart is 5,000 times stronger in electromagnetic energy than that of the human brain, and it is also stronger in electrical energy than that of the brain. So we will accompany this energy and sing the word Ehad. Again. The golden light becomes brighter, broader, stronger. Again. 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 Now we see ourselves inside a golden star of David, and before us we will call the letter Resh, which appears in a golden star of David. The letter Resh appears in white, and we illuminate it. Now we call the letter
Chet,
the one in the middle, and we illuminate it as if it were a candle. Now we call the letter
Shin,
and we illuminate it. It is a very powerful weapon that eliminates intruders instantly. The Shadim and the Mazakim. It's like insecticide that kills bugs right away. This is the same, but for Mazakim and Shadim. And we will also imagine each of us with a mezuzah inside our hearts. Now we illuminate the Resh,
the Chet and the Shin,
to form a single central light that comes out of the Star of David and comes toward ours. It will enter through the upper tip of the Star of David and descends to the brain. It illuminates the brain. It descends to the heart. It illuminates the heart. It descends to the liver. It illuminates the liver. It ascends to the heart. It illuminates the heart. It ascends to the brain. Illuminates the brain. It descends to the heart. Ascends to the brain. Heart, 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 brain. We expel it upward through the upper part of the skull, the fontanella, and we form a small cloud where flakes of white energy fall, which will magnetize our aorta. Now we form a circle. We place the earth in the middle, and this energy that has magnetized our aorta, we will project this energy over the earth, and it will come out of our foreheads, hearts, and livers. Like a ray of light, it will come out. It will envelop the entire globe, and we see a great cleansing of Shadim and Mazikim. They will no longer attack our money, our bodies, our virtues. And we see them dying instantly. And we see how humans are freed from all that pressure that the Shadim and Mazikim were placing on them. That light that we sinned also enters the earth's crust, and all of the Shadim and Mazikim hiding inside the earth are also eliminated. This energy goes to the earth's core, and they have nowhere to hide now. Well, now we will see in another Star of David the letter Che, which is presented in white, we illuminate it. The letter Aleph, which we illuminate, and the letter Aleph, which we illuminate. And this name of God enables us to bring order to where there is chaos. And since there are no longer mazikim or shadim, there are no harmful spirits, so it's easy to bring order. Now we see how the light of the letters Che, the letter Aleph, come together into a single central light that comes out through the upper tip of the Star of David and approaches ours, where our higher self is working, and will enter through the upper tip of our Star of David. It descends to the brain, it illuminates the brain. It descends to the heart, it illuminates the heart. It descends to the liver, it illuminates the liver. It ascends to the heart, illuminates the heart. It ascends to the brain and illuminates the brain. It descends to the heart, ascends to the brain, heart, 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 brain. Now we expel it through our skulls. And once again, a cloud of white light that falls in flakes and magnetizes our aura, and we are all joined together by a golden ray of light, and therefore we will place in the center the planet Earth, and we will radiate this strength from our foreheads, our hearts, and our livers to the earth, sending an energy of order, of harmony, of the end of chaos. There is no longer any economic chaos, no chaos of health, no chaos of hunger, no chaos of hatred, no chaos of separations, divorces, abortions. There are no wars. And we see a world in which human beings are our first priority. The love of human beings, and also the teachings of the secret doctrine to all human beings, and the end of ignorance that brings order to this world. And we see people of all religions coming together to study the same secrets of heaven. And when there is harmony at the soul level, there is harmony at the body level. Around the world, round table debates are held among all ethnic groups of all forms of thought to study the deepest secrets of the universe together. Schools of the wise are established around the world. And from then on, there is a multiplication of miracles with divine intervention. There is no longer any anxiety or stress or pain. And as we are seeing it manifested, we will claim it by saying Vadai.
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 It is done. Now, let's take 3 deep breaths. Again. Again. And let's open our eyes. I will tell you something, because independently from the meditation, something happened to me. When I discovered the name of Vadai, as you know, I experience everything. First I experiment with it, and then I bring it here, because if it doesn't work for me, I don't teach it. I had a client from Valencia who had a problem in his ear, an obstruction in his ear, and it was very painful. And no antibiotics or doctors had helped him. And he asked me, "Can you help me?" I blessed him with my hand on his head, and I said Vadai like we did here. When I stopped, I felt something had happened. He said, at that time, when I stopped saying Vadai, he said, "It's come unblocked. It doesn't hurt anymore." Then I was sure that the Vadai had worked. I was sure. Then he went to his doctor, who examined him, and said, "The problem is solved. There's nothing there anymore." So just now, when we said Vadai, after this meditation, which is very important, because it's the elimination of the intruders and the restoration of harmony for humans, when I said Vadai, I felt the same as I did for that man and his ear. I felt something had happened. That is, that something had worked. And when I have that feeling, I know it's worked. I know it's worked. I have no doubt at all that it has worked. Therefore, we have to observe the events that are going to happen as of now, because we should observe a significant improvement in the economic crises that exist and in the world's chaos. We should see a 180-degree turn, a turnaround in the situation, because the work we have done with the Hebrew letters, which was very powerful, was very potent, and I felt that strength inside myself. Then, when we meditated to get rid of the intruders, I saw something like cockroaches hiding, fleeing into the core of the earth, and we chased them. And the further they went, the further we followed. And that's why in the meditation I said that thing about the core of the earth, because I saw that they were going further to escape, like cockroaches that hide everywhere to dodge the insecticide. Well, I think we have done a wonderful job. You know that the work is done in the spiritual world, so it will have repercussions in the physical world. And it is also important that we all be certain that it worked, because for it to work, we have to have that certainty. And that is why Vadai means of course. Vadai is of course. Of course it has worked. That is the meaning of Vadai? Of course. And why do you use it? I use it to seal the conviction that it has already happened. Okay, like if you say, "Take this letter to the post office and mail it for me," and then you come and ask, "Did you mail my letter?" And I say, "Vadai, of course I mailed it." The way I answer you is to say, "It's done." It's a word that ratifies that we have seen it done. And when you see something done, it is done. You don't wait for it to happen. It's as if you tell God, "I would like you to give me some money." You've made a petition. But if you say, "Thanks for the money, I'm already enjoying it," you take away the temporal space. You've just taken away the temporal space. That is, you already have it. You already have it in the spiritual world. It will materialize in the physical world at any minute. What was the word you used before that? Echad. Echad is to unite our hearts, to be stronger. You know that strength comes in unity. We must be united. Echad means one. I have a question. For these names that we use, why do we use Hebrew letters and not angelic letters for them? Because there will already be a rebound with the Hebrew letters. If we use the angelic letters, the rebound could be indigestible. So too strong. Yes, too strong. So what I think is that you have to measure the strength you do things with, because there can be an excessive rebound. As you say, if you feel very nervous with these letters, imagine if we used angelic letters. We should not overdo it. Okay, we're all leaving now. Azak?